I was at this dead end job and I was like, you know what? Like, this job is making me so miserable. And I would literally go to the bathroom and cry during my lunch breaks. I was eating lunch by myself. Like, I felt like such a loser at this job because I wasn't happy and I knew I needed to leave. And so I just was like, you know what? Even though I'm a sad bitch, I'm also a bad bitch. And
Hell
I
yeah.
know I know that there's other saddie baddies out there. And that's literally what saddie baddies is about. It's about, embracing the duality of being a human. And also it's about the stigma that comes with dealing with mental health struggles. Like, here I was feeling so depressed. I had definitely shown that I had some issues and experiences with anxiety too, but it was hard to get people to understand where I was coming from because I just didn't look like it.
The clip that you just heard is from today's guest, Priscilla O. Agyeman. Priscilla is a digital content creator, public health professional, and the founder of Saddie Baddies, a virtual safe space for Black and multiracial people to destigmatize mental health and initiate collective healing. I so enjoyed having Priscilla on. I found her through her interview with Reed Turner, and I have been obsessed ever since. Priscilla inspires me constantly through the resources that she shares, just how she shows up online, the community that she's created. Even this interview inspired me to go ahead and hire some help because, as you guys may have noticed, we haven't put out an episode for the past 2 weeks, and it was because it is really just a lot for me to edit these episodes, post on social media, just do all the things that a podcast requires, and also have a full-time job. And so, in hearing Priscilla talk about how she hired on her boyfriend and her sister, I was like, you know what, who can I reach out to? And I actually ended up reaching out to one of the guests we've had on here before, Tatiana, because I just love her editing style. And I was like, hey girl, can you help me out? And she was more than happy to. So I'm just so grateful to Priscilla for being a model for rest and asking for help when you need it. I really hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Here's my interview with Priscilla. Priscilla, welcome to The Fostered. How are you doing today?
Hi, Angel. So good to be talking to you. I'm feeling good. How about yourself?
I'm feeling good. Well, thank you for making the time. I really appreciate you saying yes.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having me.
So, I like to start by asking all of my guests, what is your story? Who is Miss Priscilla?
Well, there's so many ways to kind of answer that, but the short of it is I am a Ghanaian American woman who grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey to two immigrant parents. And I moved to New York at the age of 18. I've been here ever since. So, over a decade now because I'm 30. And it's crazy. But I am someone that's passionate about fostering community and sharing resources. I am passionate about removing the stigma behind mental health. I'm passionate about all things collective healing, and that's why I started Saudi Baddies, which is my brand and the platform that I started back in 2019. And the whole initiative is to bring together Black and multiracial people as a community and remove the stigma surrounding mental health by being vulnerable, by being open, and having real, honest, hard discussions about mental health and our lived experiences in a way that feels soft and in a way that feels nurturing for all of us. And I'm a
Love.
Sagittarius, so
Okay, I was gonna ask your astrology. So you're Sag Sun. Do you know your
yes.
other two signs?
Oh yes, girl. I know my whole chart.
Yeah.
Sagittarius gang, stand up. I'm a Scorpio moon and rising, and I'm also like on the
Nice.
cusp of like Scorpio and Sag. So my birthday is November 23rd, and that's the day that like Scorpio season ends and Sagittarius season begins. So I have a lot of like those like water elements, but still that like fire energy, like no nonsense, doesn't take any shit kind of elements of that too. Yeah.
Love that. I saw that you were like traveling a lot for your 30th birthday, and I literally wrote
Yes.
that down. I was like, for my 30th birthday, I am going to be doing a trip just like this. So.
Yes, absolutely. If you do, definitely let me know. I'm happy to share all the recs. But yeah,
Please.
I loved spending my birthday traveling and visiting London, Paris, and Amsterdam. It was an amazing trip, and I was really glad to bring in this decade that way.
Yeah, what are you calling in for yourself in your 30? I'm just like, the girls in their 30s, that's
Yes, I love that audio. I've been dying to use that audio. Um, I I'm calling in tenderness. I am calling
Mm,
in slowness and ease. I spent so much of my 20s like rushing, hustling, grinding, like doing all the things, working my ass off. And honestly, my 30s is like that's a wrap. That's over. That was cute, but it's time to bring in that slowness and the ease that comes with wisdom and making better decisions for yourself. Um, I think in a lot of ways I'm already living that out, but I just want more of that in every aspect of my life. And I'm also calling in accountability. I feel like I'm very aware of like the good parts of my growth and my healing journey that's like helped me to develop, but I'm also trying to look at the ways that I know I need to improve and even those ways that might be scary or those ways that might be intimidating to me. I want to be ballsy about it and be ballsy about improvement.
I love that. I'm calling that in for myself too. I
Yes.
how does that even show up for you? Like, what does that look like in practice?
So that is being honest. And I think a lot of that comes through self reflection and journaling, of course, is like one of my favorite ways to do that type of introspection. But that also comes with listening to the people around you, listening to your friends, listening to your family, your loved ones, my partner, people in my life who really truly know me, not just the image of me or what people perceive me to be, but the people that truly know me. And if your friends are telling you about some like a personality trait that you have, like say you're someone that tends to flake on people, not that I think I'm this person, but occasionally things come up. Or if you are somebody that is always late to something, if someone making a comment about that and being like, girl, why are you always late? And you're like, oh, that's just how I am. No, that's not just how you are. This is obviously something that people notice, and taking it into consideration and just being humble and listening and being like, damn, maybe I do need to work on that. So I feel like we all have flaws and things that we want to work on. And I feel like this new year brings in a lot of that. Okay, what's the checklist of things we want to improve? And I want to be upfront about those things that I need to improve. And for me right now, my biggest focus is my health and making
Mm,
sure that I'm treating my body with the utmost care and tenderness. And one way I started doing that is by like doing a dry January, not drinking any alcohol, but I want it to be a lifestyle. I want to kind of incorporate that as like a long-term health habit of mine because I know it's going to serve my body well. So, yeah.
I love that. The girls are getting sober. I think it's such an interesting conversation.
Yes. Can
Like,
we
the
talk
girls are
about
not
it?
drinking. Yes, and so I've never been a big drinker myself. My
Mhm.
dad was
Same.
alcoholic, and so I was just always
Mm.
kind of scared of that for
Yeah.
myself, and I'm more of a cannabis girly myself. Like, that's
Same,
what
girl.
I do
Same.
prefer. Um, and so I think it's just so cool. Like, I felt so lame though when I would be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna have a kombucha or whatever." But now, like
Yeah.
that, the fact that so many other girls are getting into it, it feels really
Yeah,
inspiring and motivating to just show up in this way. What
for
has you wanted to
sure.
consider that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I'm definitely more cannabis friendly, CBD, all the things. Like I'm definitely more into like herbal, even like herbal smokes. Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
like different types of ways to incorporate herbs into your life and just more plant-based approaches to mindfulness and relaxation. So I'm all about that. And I just realized I'm like, I don't even I hate getting drunk. Like when
Yeah.
I do get I'm like, ugh, it gives me the ick. It just doesn't make me feel good, like physically, mentally, emotionally. And it's like the few occasions, like every now and then that I just would regret it. And
Mm.
I also just have been researching more and more about the effects of alcohol on your body and how, I mean, this is like definitely a trending thing, but I think because more and more information is becoming visible, like people are just like, yeah, wait, why is this such a social norm? Like, why do we center alcohol in all of our social gatherings and make it, this thing that we have to plan our whole social calendars around? And now I'm realizing how easy it is to not center it. Not that I ever did, but it's like
It's
For
so
example,
convenient.
it's so convenient, especially in New York, where it's like it's so central to like partying and being out with people, even networking if you're going to a happy hour at work, or a lot of startups or companies will have like company happy hours and
Mhm.
whatnot, and just choosing to be like, I can still go, I just don't have to consume if I don't feel like it. So just having the autonomy to really decide for yourself, like, is this what I want to do? Is this is just something that's expected of me? So,
I
sober
love that.
girls, we love.
Yes. And just being more intentional too and, like, taking that
Yeah,
second to be like, "Do I actually want this?" I love that for
exactly.
us.
I love it too.
Okay, I
I love
wanna
it.
back up a little bit. I saw today that you just trademarked Sadie Baddies.
Yes.
Congratulations, that is
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you
I
so much. Thank you.
You said you started it in 2019, which is
Mhm.
pre-pandemic. How did that idea come to you to start Sadie Baddies?
Yeah. So I started Saudi Baddies in 2019, which was feels like, I mean, when you think about it, that was a whole presidential term ago. Like that was a
Ooh,
long time ago.
yeah.
Like in retrospect, I'm like, damn, that was, 4 years is a lot. And I started it on a whim.
Mhm.
I always say that I kind of started my business backwards. Like, some people, they we'll start with a business plan or a strategy, or they'll have like goals like clearly laid out, and they'll get their LLC and their trademark, and then the comes like the marketing and the outreach and the community, all of that. I did the opposite of that. I did everything backwards. And I started it because I needed to have a creative outlet that was completely separate from my job or anything I was doing, like, for my livelihood. And I was at a really low point in my life in my mid-20s because I had just graduated with my master's degree and my master's in public health. And I was really, grateful to have that chapter kind of closed, but I felt so lost and so confused because I'd been conditioned to always prioritize my academics, and I'd been kind of expected to just like succeed in that area, but I'm like, I know that there's something else beyond this that's going to fulfill me. I just don't know what it is. And as a kid, I've always been super, super into the arts. I am like, I mean, I paint, I draw, I write poetry. Like, I've always been really, really artistic, but over time, I kind of slipped away from those skills that I developed as a kid and those interests because, as you get older, you got to start making money and taking care of yourself. And especially the route that I went through like a kind of like a you know, pre-med, like bio science route. So that's kind of different than what was really interesting to me. And so I kind of came to this crossroads. I would consider kind of like a quarter life crisis that I had because I did start it when I was about 26, and I was at this dead end job, and I was like, you know what? Like, this job is making me so miserable. And I would literally go to the bathroom and cry during my lunch breaks. I was eating lunch by myself. Like, I felt like such a loser at this job because I wasn't happy and I knew I needed to leave. And so I just was like, you know what? Even though I'm a sad bitch, I'm also a bad bitch. And
Hell
I
yeah.
know I know that there's other saddy baddies out there. And that's literally what saddy baddies is about. It's about, embracing the duality of being a human. And also it's about the stigma that comes with dealing with mental health struggles. Like, here I was feeling so depressed. I had definitely shown that I had some issues and experiences with anxiety too, but it was hard to get people to understand where I was coming from because I just didn't look like it because I was
Mm.
still doing the normal things. And that is really what high functioning anxiety is all about. It's being able to keep down a job, it's being able to have friends and a relationship and all these things, but inside you feel like you're crumbling. And so
Mhm.
that's what Sadi Baddies is represents, the people that may not always appear like they don't have their shit together. And it's a love letter to people who are going through silent battles by themselves. And yeah, I started it. I started an Instagram page, and then after like 100, 200 followers, I'm like, okay, like I guess I'll start a website, and then okay, I guess I'll have a YouTube channel, and then all these things kind of started trickling in, and then now fast forward 3 years later, last year we launched our podcast, The Soft Life, which is, I know how we got connected, but
Mhm.
also, that's been kind of the first digital product that I've produced and shared, and it's been such a journey, just being here. And this is all like Sadie Baddies being my passion project, but now it's become my business and my brand. And so it's been a journey.
That is so exciting. Like, and just so inspirational too. Like, the community of baddies, like, I just love now being a baddie, I just love
Yes.
that, and can definitely relate to high functioning anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
I feel like too, just through listening to the Soft Life Pod and, like, consuming your content, like, I'm learning a lot of language, like, things I didn't have language for, like, I'm learning that
Mm.
through your content, and I just
Um,
wanted to know, what is that like helping this community of women, and is it mainly women or
it's everyone. It's
okay,
gender
love that.
inclusive. Yeah, I mean, majority of the people that follow us are identify as women, but non-binary folks,
We
men,
love that.
all everybody. Yeah, truly
Everybody's a
everybody.
baddie.
Everyone's a baddie. Baddie is a gender neutral term, in my opinion. So
I love that.
yeah,
So what like, I feel like especially through the pandemic, like, providing language and tools and resources for
yeah.
people when I feel like a lot of us were at our lowest, like, what was that like?
Yeah, oh my God. I mean, during the pandemic, that's when things really took a turn because we only had digital spaces to rely on. So this is like, I'd been kind of riding this wave for a year where people were following and sharing the page, but it was still very much kind of like this like quiet buzz. And then boom, like May 2020, Black Lives Matter, all the social uprisings, and then people are literally depending on digital spaces for safety, for information, for access. I had shared a post about 8 ways that to practice self care in times of racial trauma, and it went viral. And so many people, thousands of people shared it because they were sharing this with each other as they were going to protest and how they can keep each other safe and how they can keep themselves safe. And I also shared a post about medical racism, which also went viral. And actually, like a whole year later, Red Table Talk posted it and found it and used it as like a resource to share with other people because all of these things are not in silos. Like the medical system has been inherently traumatizing for Black bodies and people of color, as we can see with Black maternal health outcomes. And this ties into the racial trauma that we experience on a daily basis, whether it's you being at work and feeling uncomfortable because you're dealing with microaggressions, or it's you literally getting stopped by the police and your whole body freezing because you don't know what to expect next. So I started to share this because I wanted to show people that A, this is not all, these are not singular incidents that are happening. This is all connected. And also B, I knew that with my experience with public health and having my educational background, I really wanted to start to share some of that information and break it down in a way that felt palatable because I learned so much. I mean, I interned at a detention center for 2 months in Texas, and I got to speak to over 400 women and children that fled the border and were seeking
Wow.
asylum. And it's like I had like all of these kind of really niche experiences, and I didn't know how to share them. But then through Sadie Baddies, I was able to talk about immigration health and
Mm.
vicarious trauma and the cycle of violence and all of these things that I feel like we really need to have conversations about. But also, I was able to share resources through those educational posts. And a lot of people thankfully have been able to start going to therapy or have at least been curious about finding a therapist through Saudi Baddies or through the website, because we have all of our resources there and like blog posts and all those things. So it really was like it was a mission driven purpose for me. And then during the pandemic, it just doubled down because it's like, okay, we have no safe spaces. So that's really the time I started having Instagram lives a lot and a lot of virtual events. And that's really where the community took over. And it just grew like wildfire.
That is amazing. Hearing you speak about this just makes me think of, like, that quote, like, "God is always preparing you," like, for the things, like, you
Mm,
may not know what God is preparing you for, and I feel like that is, like,
that's a
exactly
fact. That's a fact.
'cause I just listened to your podcast, the one your failures one,
Oh my
about you,
god, my
like,
flop
when
era.
when you were talking about failing biochem, my roommate she was a biology major, and I just
Oh,
remember, like, she ended up
it
choosing a different path because
yep.
organic chemistry, like,
Let's
it
that would
literally
it will kick your ass. It kicks my ass 3 times. It's not for the weak. And if you passed it, I salute you because it's hard as hell. So, yeah, shout out to anyone who's going through the thick of it because it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not.
But I just love that, like, all of those experiences, like, prepared you to be able to create this
Yeah,
content that has helped so many people, me included,
thank
and
you.
it truly is so digestible. Like, I read and listen to a lot of podcasts and resources on mental health, and a lot of it is more so, like, self-optimization, not necessarily,
Mm,
like, mission driven, and that's why I feel like really sets you apart. Like, you can tell
thank
there's a
you.
very clear mission behind what you're doing,
Thank
and
you so much.
how do you keep that difference though between, because I feel like it can
Yeah.
easily go the other way to just, like, being self, and that I guess there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that, but it does seem very shallow. Like, what is the point of,
Yeah.
like, doing all this self-optimization if there's
Right.
not, an end
Yeah.
result behind it?
Exactly. I mean, for me, it's really important to always be rooted because I'll never forget where I started. Like I know, like again, I think because my business started backwards, it wasn't because I wanted to be have a lot of followers on TikTok or have a lot of followers on Instagram or have this brand deal and this brand deal. And that was never the goal. I didn't have a business plan, like, it really was because I felt like I was so alone in my experiences, and the minute I share, people are like, "Oh, no, you're not alone. I'm going through this too." So I've always continuously felt supported by other people sharing and also relating to it because without that, there really is no saddy baddies. If I'm just talking about all the great things that I did and I never talk about my failures or my fuck ups or issues that I've had, then who cares? Like, what
Yeah.
is the point, So I always try to be, and again, duality is such a big value that I have because I know without the darkness, there is no light. And I know that sounds so cliche, but I really feel like if I didn't go through my shadow period, I wouldn't be here today.
Mhm.
Literally and figuratively, because it was dark, So I never forget that element of, the person it took to get here because if I were to just remove all of that part of my story or not ever share that part or not validate someone who listens to the soft line and is like, hey, I can't relate to this. I feel bad. I feel like shit. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, I get it. I feel you because I've been there and I still go through that sometimes. So just like always remembering who you're speaking to and who is on the other side of the screen or the mic or whoever you're talking to and just remembering that that's real people. It's not the algorithm. It's not numbers or followers. These are people with souls and hearts and just remembering that softness and like that compassion is where that's where that relatability lies and I think.
Definitely. And like, sometimes I think I'm oversharing in my content and I'm like, "Girl, do you really need to let the people know this today?" But then I listen to you and I'm like, "No, like, it's like, you make me wanna be vulnerable and show up in
Thank
that way." Like,
you. Oh
you were
my
talking
god.
about losing your iPad at the
Oh my
airport,
god,
and
girl.
you gave me so much anxiety. I got so much
Everybody
anxiety.
Everybody has the same reaction. They're like, I'm like, no, 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 it's fine. It worked out.
But I just love that you were just so real and honest, and I think it's exactly that, like, you are somebody that the folks can relate to, like,
Thank you.
I think that's been a big conversation too on social media, like, with people wanting to become more content creators and, like, showing a perfectly curated version of their lives, like, even Jackiana just
Yeah.
spoke to this recently, I don't know if you saw, but
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
do think there
Love
is,
her.
like, a level of being a Black creator, you do have to show up
Yeah.
with high quality content, but then it's like,
Yeah.
how much of that can't include, like, your real life? It's like a weird
Exactly.
balance.
I know, it's hard. It's so hard because it's like, first of all, Black creators are put on this we are under a microscope. Like,
Mhm.
we are so scrutinized, and a lot of times, to be honest, it's from each other. It's not always from white people or from someone who's not Black. It's from each other a lot of times, trust me. I've seen a lot of people say, like, the soft life trend is fake or it's superficial and whatnot. I'm like, "Okay, maybe that's the soft life you're talking about, not me." Like, the soft life
Yeah.
that I'm talking about is because I literally had to get it out of the mud. Like, I'm not talking
Mhm.
about just going on trips or, having my lashes done, which are all great things, like, and things that I enjoy. But the softness I'm talking about is the softness that comes with self forgiveness and compassion and community and sisterhood and connection and forgiving your younger self, forgiving your parents. Like, that's softness. That's literally tenderness. So, and
Mm.
also, it's like, my experience being first generation American is so different than someone who was born and raised here and has generations here because it's like I didn't get that head start in life, period, Like, so the softness I'm talking about is really it's generational. And my mom always jokes and she's like, now I want to have a soft life too. And she listens to all the episodes and she's like, she's here for it because she's like, she's happy that all the sacrifices that she made are worth it because she sees that I'm able to live a better life than she did and a better life than my grandmother did. God rest her soul. And all the ancestors that came before me didn't have a soft life. So it's
That makes
it's
me
to
emotional.
me,
It's making me emotional.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
relate to that so deeply.
yeah.
Like I'm a Cancer. I didn't say, but I'm a
I
water
felt like it
sign.
was a water sign. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm getting water energy. I love it. I love it.
Oh, but I
Yeah.
just relate to that so deeply. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have two sisters.
Are you the
And
oldest? Or are you in your birth order?
can you guess?
Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the middle.
Middle. Okay, I was gonna say oldest or middle.
I'm a middle. I have middle child syndrome bad, real bad. But yeah, I have an older sister who's 2 years older than me, Gail, and my little sister Angel, who's also named Angel. Ironically, I just
Love
put that
that.
together. Yes, and she's 10 years younger than me, so she is in college, and I love her. I love both of them.
Fun. I have a little sister in college right now too, and she is going through
Yes,
it.
I know. Shout out to the college baddies. I'm here for
Yes.
you. I feel you.
But I truly feel like kids, we make the way. Like we like fight for these things so we can provide that access for our parents. And they may
Yeah,
not understand it in the moment. Like my mom, she did not get a lot of stuff, but now like she'll come and be like, okay, like it's nice to just be like it's okay to take
yeah.
a few breaths because she struggles with anxiety really bad. And
Mm,
but she doesn't have the tools. Like they didn't talk about, like any of these
exactly.
things. Okay. Well, I did want to transition and talk to you about your podcast because I am a huge fan of the pod.
Thank you. Thank
You said
you.
you've had it for a year.
Actually, under a year. It'll be a
Under
year in April. April of this year will be, yeah, 1 year since we started the Soft Life podcast,
That's so
which is
exciting.
crazy.
And you do a good mix of solos and interview podcast or interview
Yeah.
guests. How do you do?
Yeah.
Is it kind of on a whim or is it scheduled out? How do you go about that?
So, girl, you know how it is with podcasting. No one really prepared me for like the unpredictability of it. Like, nobody really prepared me for, you could have a guest that's like on board and then they ghost, or you could
Mm,
have someone that's like, someone you thought you wanted to have on the show and then it doesn't work out. Like, sometimes it's I like to mix it up. One, because I don't want it to just be like this like ongoing monologue of just I love solo podcasts. Some of my favorite
mhm,
podcasts are our solo episodes, like Alex Wolf podcast, like Heinz, Returner, like Dr. Tama Bryant from Homecoming. Like, I love solo podcasts, but then sometimes I'm like, I want to switch it up. And I have so many amazing people in my community and my network that I want to speak to. And I've had the opportunity to have conversations with them via the interview. But then other
mhm.
times it's just like is like depending on someone else's schedule to like make your content, especially if you're a content creator, it's really challenging sometimes, and I feel like that's one of the parts of podcasting and producing content is just people not necessarily being as available as you, or maybe not having that same, like, consideration for your time, and I'm just one of those people that, like, oh, like, don't waste my time. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, I'm very patient and very understanding, but I just hate my time being wasted. And so that's why, like, if I am like gonna do a podcast or an interview or be featured even, I really try to
Mhm.
be like as respectful as someone's time as possible. Cause I know how it is and it's hard.
Yeah.
But I love
And
it.
this
Yeah, it's been
go
great. It's been amazing, but it's just, it's a lot.
it is a lot. I mean, it's not like this is the main thing that you're doing. Like, you still have another full-time job, right?
Girl, that's what I'm saying. I have a
Yeah.
whole 9 to 5, so this is really, anyone that's juggling a 9 to 5 and you're 5 to 9, it's hard. And you wanna make time. And there's been times where I've been like ready, set up to go. I'm like, "Oop, okay, they canceled." So I definitely try my best to balance it, but sometimes it's out of your control, you know?
Yeah. How do you manage, though, both your full-time job and Sadie Baddies? 'Cause, like,
So
it's growing so large. Like, I imagine that you'll probably have to quit your job soon.
Oh my gosh, I honestly I'm grateful because last year in the summer in August, I got a full-time or fully remote role, and that's
Oh,
something that
nice.
I'd had on, like, my vision board in the beginning of 2021. The way it happened was kinda wild because it's because I got laid off from my startup job in the middle of the summer, and then I had 2 months basically where I was unemployed for the first time ever in my life since I was like 14, seriously.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, I'd always had a job. Even like in grad school, I was working at the writing center. I was babysitting. So I'd always been I was a hostess for like a month. Like I was always like working. And so this was my first time really not having like a full-time job. But a friend of mine shared a referral for the company I'm at now. And it's fully remote. I mean, it's teaching me a lot too, because I work in digital marketing and digital business transformation. So it's like client facing and consulting,
Mhm.
but it's definitely given me the work life balance that I've been praying for. And before
Love
that,
that.
it's like I had the opposite of a remote job. I was in the office all the time, traveling constantly, like for work, and it was really hard to run Sadie Baddies. And there was a time I thought about taking like a hiatus,
Mhm.
but that's where I like pulled in help, and my younger sister, who is actually serves as our community manager,
Oh,
and she's
nice.
been amazing, amazing. She's been helping with video editing and content. And then my partner, he's also amazing and produces and edits all of the podcast episodes. So asking for help was like, that's what saved me from just like going ghost, because I was
Mhm.
definitely at the point of burnout, beyond the point of burnout, a couple years ago when I didn't have like a fully remote role. But yeah, I typically start my day like around like 10-ish, for
Mhm.
my full-time role. So what I usually do is I do most of my work for Sadie Baddies in the evening, and
Okay.
then I'll, connect with my team, and they'll everyone kind of has their own task for the week, and we just kind of sync up like in the evenings and make sure everything's covered for the next day. So that way, like, there's overlap if there needs to be, and then obviously I try to use my weekends when I can to try to create some content or respond to emails, all the things. So yeah,
That's
it's
a real.
crazy, but I mean, I've been doing it for like almost 4 years now, so I'm like, all right, just keep going until this is your full time, role. So
And I'd love to know, like, how do you manage, like,
yeah.
rest with that too? Because I feel like it
Oh
does
yeah.
require a lot of work, and so I'd
Yeah.
just love to know, like, how does rest play in for you?
Yeah, I really stand by the quote that creative people need time to do nothing. And I really, really stand by that, because if I don't rest and if I don't have my like leisurely days, or my days where, my man and I will go to the museum or the gallery, we'll have date night, and it becomes really lifeless, the content that I'm sharing, and I can tell. And I've had this creative spark since the beginning of January, and I know that it's because the last 2 weeks of December, I was in Tennessee with my partner and his family, well, our
What part of
family,
Tennessee?
in Clarksville.
Oh, okay, my boyfriend's from Nashville.
Oh,
So,
that's crazy.
yeah.
I know we didn't really spend too much time in Nashville, but definitely wanna go back. We'll be going back soon. That's such a, um, funny thing, but we spent the last 2 weeks, like, literally just hanging out, cooking, spending time with family, playing with the dogs, like, it was so slow and relaxed and the opposite of, like, that fast pace of New York, and I feel like
Mhm.
because I had so much time to rest, I have so much creative spark and energy, and I'm like, "Okay, like, let's get it, this is Q1," like, we had our kickoff Q1 call last week, and I'm just, like, so inspired to keep doing this work, but just be extremely strategic about it, you know? And I think it's really important as business owners and small brand owners to be intentional, of course, and like be inspired, but be strategic too, you know? You can't just assume that motivation or inspiration is enough. Like for me, I never forget my why, but my why is not enough to get me a brand deal, you know?
Mhm.
I have to be strategic about it. I have to put content out. I have to have a schedule, need to be organized and like be cross functional with what I need to do. So Notion is one of my favorite things to use to keep everything organized. It's like where I write out all of the podcast ideas, episodes, all the things, to do lists, and then Asana for like project management, Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, or Calendly for like scheduling, and then, using Riverside software, like all the things
Mhm.
combined that, when you think about like having a digital community or digitally based business, like you're going to be using a lot of different tools to keep
Mhm.
your business running and it gets expensive. But just having a strategy and having regular maintenance is what's going to keep that machine running and also asking for help. Like that's the biggest thing. I can't do any of this by myself. I need help. And I'm really grateful for the first time officially like having like a team of people that I love, but also people that I trust and people that make work doing this work so much more fulfilling and easier.
I love that. That is so beautiful. What has it been like working with your partner? As someone who also works with their partner, I would love, like, any tips.
I know. Wait, first of all, like when can I just say, like I didn't even have an idea, and then when I was like, wait, that is so beautiful. Like I love that you have that support, but also just having your partner work with you it's honestly a blessing, and I know you know this,
Mhm.
because you experience this yourself. But I think it's really, really, I'm really fortunate, and I'm also grateful because it it's like a different aspect of our relationship. We live
Mhm.
together, and we've been together for over 4 years. So, it's like having this element of working together now and working together like on your business is so interesting, and it just adds this other layer of trust because I
Mhm.
think the one area I am a bit of a control freak is when it comes to my my
Yeah.
business, and I'm like, oh, don't do it this way, no, like I get
Yeah.
very, 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 very detail oriented and very like focused. So learning how to let go, sometimes learning how to delegate is something that I didn't know. I wasn't the best delegator
It's
until I had
hard.
to, it's hard. And then when I brought Angel on board, my younger sister, to do community management, I'm like, I gotta delegate everything. Like it's not in
Mhm.
my head. I can't just, when you're used to doing something by yourself, you have a process in your head, and I had a way of doing certain things. I had a way of how I was putting together my Instagram post or videos, or how I was pitching to brands. Like I had a certain method, and now I had to lay it all out and explain it to someone and then trust them to do it. It's like, oh, okay. And so that was a skill that I had gotten better at over time with delegating And that aspect of delegating is, I think, what prevents people from asking for help, because the
Mhm.
delegating part is work. It takes work
Yeah.
because it forces you to be really clear about your process, and if it doesn't make any sense, it's like the saying, if you can't explain something to a 6-year-old, it's too complicated, or it's
Yeah.
not, you need to really simplify your process so that it can be copy and pasted to anyone, not just to yourself.
Mhm.
So
No, that is so real. I it's a skill. I feel like delegation is a
it's
real
definitely
skill.
a skill, and it's funny because it's like, just because I talk a lot, and I would say I'm a good communicator, that doesn't necessarily mean, like, I'm a delegator, because that requires
Mhm.
direction and communication, not just the communication part. So, yeah, I'm learning a lot, and that's why it's also good to have people that will, like, be like, "Girl, no. No, you're
Yeah.
doing too much," or, like, like, trying to
BFFR.
exit be fucking for real.
Be
Exactly.
be right now.
Be so for real right now, girl. Stop. So yeah, it's helpful to have people that are in your corner, but also that are, like, right next to you too, you know?
I love that. That is what I'm getting from you is just like the growth. Like these are things that it truly takes time
Yeah.
to learn these things, to know what systems to put in place, to learn how to
Yeah.
delegate. And I think a lot of times we just want to skip past these things and just be like, we should be
Yes.
at this certain point. But it's like it really takes time to
It
develop
does.
into a leader and
It's hard.
to grow your business. Yeah.
Mhm.
It takes work.
It
Okay.
does.
Well, let's wrap it on up. I like to ask all my guests, what is something that you're fostering currently?
Mm. That's such a good question. I feel like I'm fostering I'm fostering a easier way of doing things. And when I say easy, I mean a more clear, a more precise, a more efficient way of doing things in my personal life, in my
Mhm,
business. And I think that part of it is obviously me starting the soft life, but also looking at the ways that I'm maybe overcomplicating certain things in my life. Like, for example, if, like, waking up has been a challenge for me, maybe if I'm not up at 1 a.m.
girl.
on
Actually, do not
TikTok.
read me right now because that's what you're doing.
Oh my God. Like, maybe if I'm not up at 1 a.m., I can go to bed earlier, and that way I can wake up earlier, like, just finding easier ways to do things. And also, I've also noticed that even when it comes to, like, my physical health, like, my daily walks have become therapy for me. Like,
Mm,
now I've been doing it for about a month now. And, once you hit that kind of 3-week mark of doing
mhm,
something every day, it becomes just second nature. And I realized, like, how simple it is, but it just allows me to get outside, get some fresh air, like, take a breather. And, working from home is great because, you get to just work in the safety and comfort of your home. And I mean, I definitely don't miss commuting, especially in New York, but it also can create, like, it can make you a little bit isolated, and it can make
yeah,
you low key like a prisoner in your own home. If you're just chained to your desk all day, you're not getting fresh air, you're not going outside and switching up your scenery. I see how much more creative I am when I take, like, my walks, or I do make, like, midweek plans and whatnot, and just inviting that ease into my everyday life so that I don't feel like I'm just constantly on this, like, hamster wheel, just
mhm,
those, like, really simple moments of pause, or sacred pause, as Dr. Taylor would say, like, just having, like, "Ooh, okay, I just need a quick 30-minute deep breather," having my routines be in place, like my morning routine, my night routine. Those things are really what help me to be the best version of myself. So I want to foster more of that this year. Not to say, like, I need to be perfect about it, or, check all the boxes, but I want that to be an element of my wellness and my well being that I can always rely on to help me make the best decisions throughout the day, throughout my week, and make sure that I'm taking care of myself first.
That is so well said. How long are your walks for? I'm just curious. Like, how long are you
Yeah.
walking?
I'm walking for like a good half hour, 45 minutes,
Okay.
especially if I have like, I usually listen to podcasts. So I'll listen to, and I know like as a podcaster, like you replay your own podcast a lot of times because you're like trying to pick out those like nuggets or
Mhm.
you know. So I listen to your podcast, which I love, or I
Oh,
listen to
thank
some of
you.
my some of my other faves, and or some music, and it just like for a good half hour, 45 minutes, and then I'm like, all right, ready to start the day. So,
Oh, this is how you start this is your morning
oh,
routine.
this is my morning routine. Yes, yes,
Got you. Okay, love that.
yes.
Well, let's just give us the whole rundown of the morning routine while we're here. How do you start the day?
Sure. So I typically wake up around like 7.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes a little bit earlier, sometimes a little later. I used to be really hard on myself about waking up, but it's the same time every day, and I'm just like, "Girl, like, you work from home, it's not that serious, like,
That's
just."
something I just realized. Like, I was, like, such a stickler. I wanted to be in the 5 AM club so bad, but it's like
I'm
my
not.
job does not require me to wake up that early. It doesn't do anything for me. Like,
It
I don't have a job I
doesn't.
need to clock into. So I'm
Exactly.
chilling out on waking up super early because I was, like,
Yeah.
a stickler about it.
Yeah, and it's also, like, being, like, realizing what fits into your lifestyle. Like for
Yeah.
me, maybe waking up at 5 a.m. when I had to commute, and I would I live in Harlem, which is uptown, but I lived in Brooklyn for a while, and I'd had to
Mhm.
commute to Harlem for work for years. So maybe back then it made sense because I'm having to commute every day. My commute alone is an hour. So, but now I'm just like, girl, you don't need to wake up that early. You can get everything
Mhm.
done that you were going to get done. Get your rest, and again, like, prioritizing rest is what makes me feel good. So, waking up around, like, 7-ish, and then, my partner and I always give each other, like, a good morning hug, and we
Aw,
literally call it a good morning. It's yeah.
I love
Sappy.
that.
We always just, like, give each other a good morning hug and just, like, get that, like, physical contact, like, first thing in the morning. It just I feel like it does make your day better. So it's just like, like greet each other, and then I would like to like light some incense. Like incense is a big part of my day. I have like 20 boxes of incense because I'm just always burning incense every single
What's your
day.
favorite scent
I
and brand?
love dragon's blood. Dragon's
Mm,
blood. It sounds scary, but it's really not. It just has a really deep kind of like woody scent, and it's
mm.
really good for like cleansing out like your space, like your energy. And then I also have a white sage that I love to burn in the morning or after I clean, and then like a sandalwood that
Yeah, I love a
smells really good.
sandalwood.
Yes, I love sandalwood. So I alternate, but those are kind of like my main three. But burn some incense, and I brush my teeth and oil pull, which is one of my favorite parts of,
Okay.
self care. Do some oil pulling, and then usually I'm like, all right, let's head out. So I'll walk for a good like 30, 45 minutes. And then, a day like today, I didn't really walk in the morning because I kind of woke up a little bit later and I wanted to get some work done before my first call today for work. And I just hopped on the Peloton instead of taking my morning walk, and then I took a quick, like, afternoon walk instead. Um, just finding, like, little slivers of the day where I
Mhm.
can, like, still, like, be flexible about my morning routine, and then usually I'll have my morning call, and if I don't have, like, back-to-back meetings that day, then I'll, like, make my breakfast and make a matcha, like,
Love a
tidy
matcha.
up. Yes, some matcha girly through and through. Um, Tidy up and like kind of just get settled into the day, and then kind of transition into work mode for a few hours. And then when the day wraps up, I'm like saddy batty mode.
I'm definitely gonna be going to find me some dragon's blood,
Yes,
incense.
I'll send you the link. I really, really love
Please.
it. It's so good. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Priscilla. I'm so happy I got to chat with you.
Me
I
too, Angel.
just love everything that you're doing. I'm just so happy to be a part of your community. And sometimes I'm like, girl, like you cannot repost again, like get out of her notifications. But I just don't know how to not stand something that I
No,
love or
I
I'm
love
obsessed
it.
with.
I
If
love it.
y'all if y'all don't already, please go check out Sadie Baddies. Check out the Soft Life Pod. Check out Priscilla. Her content is truly amazing on TikTok and Instagram. You will not regret it. It is
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you so much, Angel. And yours is too. I'm really glad that we align and cross paths. And thank you for having me.
I hope that you enjoyed this interview with Priscilla and that you really got something out of it. I know that I did. I took away so many lessons from this. If you have a friend or a family member or a coworker who you think could really get some value out of this, please share it. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, please rate our podcast 5 stars, leave a review. It really helps the podcast grow. Your support means so much. So I am so grateful for the people who have left reviews and ratings so far. If there's a guest that you would like to hear from or a topic that you would like me to touch on, please drop that in the reviews or hit me up on the Foster on Instagram or even my personal Instagram at Angel.Foster. I want to hear from y'all. And I've been loving what I've been hearing so far. So I feel like we've just been getting a really good response. Like the clips that we shared do really well, and I'm just so appreciative of y'all for engaging with what we are sharing. And yeah, I'm really excited. I hope y'all have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.